father used to beat them. He used to come home and beat them and things like that. He hated his father. Because his father, he considered his father to be a racist. Didn't like his father's racial attitudes. He thought his father was a bigot. His father was, was violent. Now, look, I'm not criticizing anyone's father, but many people have experienced the case of having violent fathers. I'm sure you all know something of what that means. And that's going to be the difference in when we read The Chosen. Because one of the things I think that strikes the students most about The Chosen is the tenderness of fathers to sons in that book. Not just one father, but two fathers to their sons. And it's a totally different environment. And I think it's surprising and not just shocking, but amazing to a lot of people to see such love and affection from a father poured on a son or one of their offspring in that manner. And it certainly does explain a lot of how the Jewish community manages to thrive in adversity. The non-violence of fathers and sons in the Jewish community and the tremendous love and affection lavished on sons by fathers is totally alien to a lot of people who think fathers are supposed to beat their sons. I think a lot of women in the classroom would respond positively to some husbands not beating sons and things. So this is the tremendous attraction of The Chosen novel for all people that I've had in my classes of all backgrounds. The total surprise of seeing a situation like that portrayed so tenderly and affectionately. So I just mention that in relation to the violence that James Baldwin writes about in his family. And D.H. Lawrence is another one whose father was pretty violent. And often these people with violent fathers that dote on their mothers become totally addicted to their mothers. Anyway, I don't have any answer to those things, but Baldwin doesn't like his father, but it's probably because of his the education he partially received from being a preacher's son that he was able to thrive. So he started writing here in America and ultimately went overseas and lived in the during the 60s and so on. I encountered him in the 50s there. Spent the rest of his life ultimately in Europe, had a European boyfriend whom he lived with, something like Josephine Baker in the countryside. He died not long ago, several years ago, but he never really did come back to America except briefly at times. And he felt more comfortable there. I think, as I was trying to say, I think this is over. I don't think people go to places like Paris anymore for tolerance, because I don't think you'll find it there. And there's a lot of really serious problems with the number of people from Black Africa, if you want to call it that, because we're talking about North Africa versus Central Africa. So you have Black Africa versus Arab, North African immigrants from Africa in Paris. And a lot of it is violent. Extremely violent. There are areas in Paris that there are no-go areas, particularly in the outskirts of Paris and so on. Areas that I would consider as dangerous as a lot of areas in American cities, and there's a lot of violence and brutality that goes on there. The French police have always been extremely violent and brutal. They're really almost fascist. They've always been. I was in Paris during the Algerian War. They all used to beat the living daylights out of people in the jails. Very, very. The problem in America always advertises all its dirty laundry for the whole world to see, but people don't know what goes on in other countries, and they idealize other countries and don't know it's probably as bad or worse in a lot of other countries. So I just I don't think you have exiles like James Baldwin much in Paris anymore. There seems to be more sanctuary here in America for a lot of people like that than in some of these other countries. England is a country also riven by